Oh, there he is. Hang on. Wait. Wade, we've been looking for you for days.
Oh, hello, pretty lady.
Oh, mate.
Want another round?
You are fucked, hey. What have you been doing?
Burn. Oh, I thought, man, this lady's short.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Where have you been?
Man.
We got to go and record some episodes. We're falling behind.
Fuck Sci-gasm, man.
Oh, what are you talking about?
The world's gonna end. It's gonna be done. We're doomed, man.
You haven't been to work in 2 weeks.
I know. I told my boss to go and shove it. And
Mate, the
I haven't
missus
seen
told
my
me
wife
you've
in a
blown
week.
out their bank account.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, man, I just, we're due for an asteroid impact, man. Look, it's 100,000 years, and, man, it's been 100,000 years since the last asteroid impact. We're fucking dudes, man. I'm just fucking partying. Woo! Take it off, glitter! Woo!
Oh, mate, you know there's a huge error margin on those things. That's not when things are supposed to be overdue.
What do you mean?
That's not what we mean when we say stuff's overdue.
But it's 100,000 years. It's like due, like in a week.
It's more like millions of years, and it could be due at any time within the next few million years as well.
Hey, slow down there, Byron. Wait. So you're telling me, Brian, that...
It's Burn.
Okay, sorry, Byron. You're telling me that there may be an asteroid impact in the next million... Not going to happen in 1 week. It may happen in a million years.
I'm embarrassed for both of us right now.
I better go home with my wife.
How hard this was to research and try and sound genuinely like I was doing work.
Would you like to say it today, Bern?
Hey, Wade.
Hi, Bern.
Oh, this is weird. I don't know how to do it
Yeah,
from
I
here,
know.
or where to
Yeah.
go from here. It's all backwards.
I know. I
been-
feel like we've flipped.
We've flipped?
Yeah.
Well, it's well overdue.
Oh, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
You know what? We're not going to edit this out, so that way our audience will be like, fuck, these guys are shit.
I think they already know that. We're at season 9
Yeah.
now. They definitely know where shit went now.
What's happening, man? What's going on?
Oh, not much. Daughter took a massive shit in the bath the other night. She was overdue.
Oh,
for
really?
that. Yeah,
Oh, that's
she's a bit
good.
constipated. But worst thing about shitting in the bath is you have to clean everything pretty thoroughly.
Yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
Yeah, wow. I'm sure she's going to love you saying that. When
It's
she's-
amazing how comfortable you get when you become a parent talking about taking a shit or being spewed on and bodily fluids and
yeah,
stuff.
but dude, like, you know, she's starting high school next week. You shouldn't be announcing this thing in public.
Yeah.
No. How is she? She's almost 1 now.
Yeah, she's 11 months, I think, next week or something.
Oh, how
the week
exciting.
after.
Wow.
Yeah.
You and your
Almost
wife must
one.
be extremely proud. She's a little cutie.
Yeah.
She's a little cutie.
Yeah, she goes, right, takes after her mum on that respect. Yeah.
Yeah, she's starting to, it's kind of cool, starting to interact with her and
It's
stuff
funny,
like
like, you
that.
must be extremely proud. It's like, I don't know, she's a baby, I guess. Like, she hasn't really done anything yet. She worked out how to stand up recently, but fuck, I've been doing that for years. I'm not that impressed.
Fucking whoop-de-doo. Come see me when you can do a cartwheel.
Yeah. She's like, look, I can clap. I'm like, good on ya. Can you click your fingers? No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you two got a podcast with a whole bunch of listeners? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't even talk
You
yet.
can't even talk yet. Well, your dad has a fucking podcast. Yeah.
All he does is talk. People tell him to shut up.
Yeah, but he keeps making episodes weekly. Yeah.
All right. So things are overdue for. My daughter's overdue for talking. Oh, she's getting there though. So
she?
yeah, she's getting there. She's making a lot of sounds that sound like stuff, and they're purposeful.
I've heard her say "ma." Like,
Yeah, she says
like
mum and
stuff
dad
like
now.
that. Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
cool. That's
sweet.
talking.
That's getting there. She says all done when she doesn't want any food. Like all done.
Oh, that's good.
She's finished something. Yeah, that's pretty.
That's
neat.
good. My brother's kids say, "Please, okay." They're like, what do you say? And they go, "Please, okay." Because you know how when you say please, they go okay, and they give you something. Yeah. So they say please, okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cute.
Please,
It's
okay.
really cute. They're beautiful.
So, I'm not going to say okay. No, you can't have it anyway. Sometimes you just don't get what you want. It's about time you learn that lesson.
Yeah. Welcome to a capitalist society. Yeah.
Please is not enough anymore. I need money.
Yeah, you need to work for it.
Yeah. All right, so
Okay.
a lot of people talk about we're overdue for an asteroid impact.
Yeah. So
You know, like a decent one. We get a few little ones hitting the place every now and then, but a solid one.
Yeah, I'm watching The Land Before Time, and things do not go down well when an asteroid hits the Earth.
Yeah, that's right. Are we going to have to rely on Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck one day to blow up an asteroid?
Oh, what's that? Armageddon.
Don't want to close your eyes. What a shit movie. I'm sorry.
Oh, what a great song, though.
The song made the movie, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it. It's just the ultimate, like, America, fuck yeah, come to save the motherfucking day, yeah.
I don't know why they have to put like a whole crew of people on an asteroid to blow it up. Couldn't they just shoot a nuke at it from Earth?
No, because the nuke would only... Mate, you got to watch the fucking film, all right? The nuke would only strike the surface, okay? So it'd only strike the surface, and then it'd only damage the surface. But, like a firecracker... Like in the
How many
movie,
times you watch this movie?
if you hold it in your hand and close your fist, boom, you'll lose a hand.
Okay, but doesn't that just mean that instead of having one giant asteroid, we've got multiple small asteroids raining down on Earth?
Yes. but it would just said it'll split the asteroid into two before the trajectory, and both parts would miss.
Yeah, okay.
But they kind of fucked up.
You got a little bit of rain.
Yeah.
You'd expect a little bit of rain from that. You know, I can't see it being a clean break there.
No.
Yeah. All right, now when I was looking at these asteroids and the overdue thing, I found this thing called the Torino scale, which is a 1 to 10 scale about the potential damage based on probability of impact as well as kinetic energy. 1 being like, man, don't worry about it, you know, it's not much in there, to 10 being like, Earth is now fucked.
Okay.
You know, we are now entering a new period of extinction and another ice age.
Yep.
Now, when I looked into it, we aren't overdue for an asteroid. There is less stuff flying around in the in the solar system now because it's either run into stuff or, you know, during the earlier solar system, it's smacked into things and broken up.
Yeah, well, that's how the early solar system formed. Was just all, you know, dust cloud and particles and all that type of stuff. Was particulate matter. It just you know, it kind of came together due to gravity, and then it. Yeah, and that's how we get solar systems.
Yeah, and even if you have a look up there now, like, it's pretty stable. Jupiter's evened out all the asteroid things, so a lot of people are worried we're overdue for an asteroid. We're not.
Yeah,
that's not due.
It's funny how people
We're monitoring pretty well as well.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty good idea what's flying around out there. We're good. We're good. Everyone calm down.
Yeah, it is funny because, like, you know, asteroids are, you know, I guess, like, there's not like, oh, it's due, you know, there's a certain process, here comes another one, you know, like, it's not like a clock ticking or something like that. It's completely random. However, like, I guess as well, even looking at the Earth's, because you got to remember, with the solar system, it's not like, you know, we've got a solar system, but we're also part of a galaxy. And in that galaxy, that's a spiral galaxy known as the Milky Way galaxy. If you don't know that by now, fuck. And the actual location of Earth, like, it's not like it just goes around. It goes up and down, you know, in all the different, you know, because of the different influence of other solar systems and stars and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's different periods
Kind
of
of
time.
like wiggles a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's
wobbles.
different periods of times where our solar system will be in a different part of kind of the galaxy, I guess you would say, like the way it moves into different sections as it spirals. Because you've got to remember, like anything, a spiral stuffed in closer to the center of the supermassive black hole. I think it's Sagittarius A, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
In the center of it's like a supermassive black hole. And, you know, things move different rates and move up and down. It's not just like this perfect, you know, little clock ticking thing. And so there's different points in that movement over that period of time. That's why it's on a time scale.
Yeah.
That different things happen.
Yeah, it's the same with the planets orbiting the sun. They'll move up and down, which is why we don't get a solar eclipse every time there's a new moon, you know?
Yeah.
Or a lunar eclipse every time there's a full moon.
And, like, you know, it doesn't even have to happen that it's... you know, it's part of our solar system. It can be from something else.
Yeah. Lots of things. Yeah. So we don't really know. So we're not overdue for an asteroid. Everyone calm down.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that people always talk about is that we're due for a magnetic field flip. So the North Pole becomes the South Pole and vice versa.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know that they do actually periodically swap, and we can look in like rock strata at certain minerals in there, especially iron, and see which way they're orientated, and that tells us which way was north and which way was south at a certain period of time. Which I think is really fucking cool, you know. So you can go down and through rock strata when it was still forming or still magma or whatever, and then when it solidifies, the things are set in a certain direction. And on average, there's a reversal about every 250 to 300,000 years. Now, the last one was actually 780,000 years ago. So a lot of people are like, oh, we're well overdue. It's going to happen at any time. But like you were saying, there's huge variation because there have been periods in Earth's history when it's been tens of millions of years between a reversal.
Okay. So it's really just when they say we're overdue, it's just like, well, if you average it out, this can happen. It's like it's not going to happen the next...
Yeah, I guess we're overdue based on averages, but it's like a huge margin of error there. Huge.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, what happens when the Earth's... And we think it might be flipping now, very slowly, because a flip could take thousands of years. It's not like one day south is north and north is south.
Yeah.
It could take thousands of years.
Okay.
Now, what we think will happen is the magnetic field around the Earth will weaken, and it might even go down to about 10% of what it is now. So quite a significant reduction.
How does that play a... That would play a part in protecting us against...
Cosmic rays and radiation?
And like
Absolutely it does, yeah. So we think that the Earth's surface might be susceptible to increased levels of radiation. We might expect, if this reversal happens and it goes down, that all of our electronics and satellites and all that stuff starts to get messed with as well. But there's no real scientific evidence of a reversal causing mass extinctions or volcanisms in the past, because if the last reversal was 780,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, i.e. humans, didn't actually exist then. So we don't know. And clearly, if there's been that many reversals and it's not necessarily an uncommon thing in geological time, it doesn't wipe out life on Earth, or else it would have. And there is no evidence of any reversal being associated with a mass extinction. So it's probably nothing to worry about, really.
I love how people are like, oh my God, it's going to flip and all this type of stuff. It's like, you do realise that climate change is a bigger threat than the flipping of fucking Earth's magnetic field, and that's going to affect us pretty fucking quickly.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? The Earth's magnetic field, if it flips, is going to be a real problem for migratory animals, because they'll have something going, everything's backwards, you know? Yeah, everything will flip out.
But once again, though, that's assumed that's an instantaneous flip, not a gradual flip, where you'd have natural selection and things like that.
Well, they'll work it out pretty quick, you know? Yeah. You get a bit disorientated. I've woken up in a strange house and you're disorientated, but you work it out pretty quick. So will the animals. You know?
Oh, that's a shit analogy. When you wake up in a random house after a big night, and you're like, where am I? And then you walk outside, you have a look around. Yeah, and then you go, I walked that way. Right. There's the McDonald's, so obviously I'm that way, and there's the bus stop. That's what birds are going to do.
Actually, it's pretty much what they do, because while they orientate themselves with the magnetic field, they obviously still use landmarks as well. If they're going to go, fuck, that mountain's on the wrong side, they're not going to go, well, clearly the mountain's moved.
No? Is that what they did?
Yeah, they use landmarks as well as the magnetic field lines.
Well, it wasn't too bad of an analogy then, except you just being drunk, passing out on the couch.
Which is pretty close. I've watched many birds. They look drunk. You've seen them fly. They never fly straight. Now, there was a 2008 paper in Nature which said that this flip could happen anywhere in the next 2,000 years. So I've been watching, and the North Pole is slowly migrating south, and the South Pole is slowly migrating north. And what might be really cool is, as it goes south and starts to weaken, we could end up actually getting multiple poles. So we don't have one north and one south. There's like a pile of them all over the place.
That's cool.
That would be pretty neat. And that's what I think I really want to do this episode on, is things are overdue for, because this is the shit I kind of want to see happen, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
I reckon it'd be really interesting.
The funny thing is that currently the North Pole, if you look at the Earth like a magnet, the North Pole is actually the South Pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of, a lot of people think, Northern Hemisphere, therefore that's the North Pole.
Yeah, the North Pole is a south magnetic pole.
Yeah, but it's like, no, the actual North Pole has a south magnetic pole. It's actually back to front. So if we were to actually say North and South Hemisphere in accordance with our magnetic field, you'd actually have to swap it around.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that the North Pole and the North magnetic pole are actually in different spots as well. They're actually quite far away from each other.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the North Pole is where we spin. That's our axis of rotation. Yeah. And the magnetic North Pole is like, I think it's a few hundred kilometers or something away from it. So the center magnetic pole, where your magnet would spin around, is nowhere near the actual North Pole.
And they also think that the inner core is the reason for Earth's magnetic field, but it's not. It's the actual outer. It's like the outer
the liquid
core.
one.
Yeah, it's a liquid, because you have to have moving charges to create a magnetic
moving
field.
electrons, over the solid. That? No, I think I kind of did, but I just kind of neglected the fact. But that makes sense, because you have to have
in a basic physics, like according to Maxwell, right? Maxwell's laws.
Maxwell Smart.
Maxwell Smart. Yeah, no, James Clerk Maxwell. He actually. So was it James Clerk Maxwell? I'm trying to think. No, it wasn't Maxwell's equations. It was, you had Faraday and it was Faraday.
Some nerds.
Yeah, no. I'm going to remember in a sec.
This is great radio.
Yeah, Faraday, and you have Maxwell's equations. Maxwell's equations for electrodynamic. Faraday's was how to produce a magnetic field. And then Faraday. No, it was Faraday. My apologies. It was Faraday. So I'm just going through, because you've got like Faraday, you've got Lenz's law, then you've got Maxwell's equations, which anyway. So Faraday, he was the first scientist to realize there was a link between a moving charge and a magnetic field. So if you move a charge, you create a magnetic field. Likewise, in accordance with Lenz's law, and so they can both influence each other. So if you run a wire through a magnetic field, you'll create a current.
Okay.
Or a conducting
That's how
material.
we get our electricity.
That's how you get electricity. That's how you generate. That's how you generate things. And so Lenz's law more calculated the forces and things like that you apply and which way the current will go. But going back to Faraday was the first scientist to discover that moving charges create magnetic fields. So in order to create a magnetic field outside of, say, a permanent magnet, okay, you need to have liquid. So it needs to be moving. So the ion there needs to be moving from the outer core. One of the reasons why Mars has a really, really small, non-existent, almost non-existent magnetic field.
Yeah, it's very weak, and there's a few poles around the place. Really
so
weak.
That's because of Mars is much smaller than Earth, so it's dissipated its heat more, which means that the core isn't liquid anymore, which means it's not moving. So therefore, you don't get that production.
So there must be some iron or something, or permanent magnets.
Yeah, well, heavier elements usually go towards the center of things.
But how does Mars have any magnetic field at all?
Well, it's obviously still got iron and things like that, but maybe it's left over from,
Maybe there's some permanent magnets left in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that one of the reasons why it doesn't have that protective magnetic field, you look at Mars, it's just like scalded from cosmic rays and things like that, is because it doesn't have that liquid moving charges at the core, which creates a magnetic field.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so anyway, look, Earth's magnetic flip, if it does happen, which will be cool, because that means Saturn will be living in Antarctica, is probably not going to do much damage. A lot of people are worried about it. It's probably okay, but it is.
What are the elves going to do? He'll just hire penguins.
Yeah, that's right. The elves. I'd love to see an elf fight a penguin.
Yeah.
Hey, checked my eye. They're better dressed than the elves anyway.
Damn Southern Hemisphere immigrants taking our jobs.
They don't even speak Elvish.
They get all the handouts.
Now, another thing we're often told we're overdue for is like a global pandemic, like a big disease. We often think like the Black Death or the Spanish influenza, those huge diseases that wipe out millions and millions of people.
I don't know. If the anti-vaxxers have their way, I think we'd be doing a pretty fucking good job.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring it back, We'll see what happens.
Maybe it's not like the spread of a disease, but more the rise in stupidity.
That's right. That's the pandemic right there.
Maybe it's the stupidity of anti-vaxxers and those people that just accumulates and then bam, they're wiped out and then we begin again.
I'll give you a lot of opportunities to have a go at anti-vaxxers in this section. Don't worry about it.
Oh, good. Excellent.
So if you have a look, we had Zika. You remember Zika virus came through?
Zika virus, yep.
We had the swine flu, the bird flu, remember, and those things, and the Ebola virus that was in there. Mm-hmm. Now, all of those people were like, holy shit, the world's going to die, but none of them really got to the level of those diseases like the Spanish flu or like the Black Death, that like those diseases that are in our folklore, if you will. Okay, now the reason that people are kind of worried is also the same reason we shouldn't be worried. Now, hear me out here. Now, if we look at how new diseases are born, about 60% of them actually come from animals. So of all the new diseases that come out, they've come from animals. Like AIDS came from probably a monkey.
HIV, you mean?
Yeah. HIV probably came from a monkey, thank you. And there's a few things like that. Zika.
I just remember the original one where it's like, do you know how HIV started? Someone fucked a monkey. And it's like, are you sure they just didn't eat the meat of a monkey?
Yeah, and maybe get bitten or,
Did they really have to have sex with it?
I'm not sure if you've seen many monkeys, but they're pretty hard to keep down.
Could imagine a monkey would be very hard to rape. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Like, even if you tie down at arms and legs, it's still got the tail free,
Still got the tail free, and it's like, and like, who thinks like, I'm gonna fuck that monkey? You know what I mean? It's like it's way stronger than you. Yeah. It's way more aggressive. It has no,
A little monkey probably isn't. I feel like I could take a small monkey.
Get back here.
Yeah, back here.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh man, let's stop this because it's going to go to a place where we say things.
60% of diseases come from animals.
Yeah,
okay. Zika, I think, came from a monkey as well. Swine flu, obviously pigs, birds, bird flu.
Yep.
Now, because of that, we're urbanizing. We're moving into animal territory, so we are actually exposing ourselves to potential new diseases all the time, more frequently in this day and age. The other thing that we seem to do is we travel a lot more. So diseases that we do get exposed to...
globalization,
Yeah, absolutely, are more likely to be able to spread. We have more flights going every day all over the place. So with these two things, we've got more contact with animals, which is the source of most new diseases, and we have more travel, then surely we're setting ourselves up for a pandemic somehow here. Now, weirdly enough, the same reasons are the reasons we're probably not setting ourselves up. We'd think it was a ticking time bomb.
Because exposure. Is that it?
Sort of. The flip side is we actually know this, so we recognize areas where new diseases are likely to pop up. And because we're so able to readily travel all over the world, if a new disease pops up, we're very able to quickly mobilize.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
move around.
Yeah.
So when Ebola popped up, how many people were up there? Like the Médecins Sans Frontières and things ended up there taking care of the Ebola victims.
Yeah,
shutting
that's a very
down.
good point. Yeah, even like technology we have in place, like, the infrared screening and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Screening people for high temperatures when they came, when they'd enter the shores and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
improved
a very
technologies
good
as well. And like we're now able to make vaccines very, very quickly compared to the old days too.
Are you telling me that science is actually prolonging this, and our understanding and investment in research in environment and health and biological sciences is helping us prevent pandemics?
Oh, I know. Who would have thought?
I know.
Unbelievable. And like
Big
antibiotics.
Pharma, you pieces of shit. Yeah.
Antibiotics is another one. The recent invention of a lot of antibiotics. We can help prevent massive spreads of bacterial infections too.
Yeah. God.
So it's like...
It's just money grabbing.
It is. But the thing is, like, what about superbugs, Surely, if we don't have a way to treat them or control them, then surely there's going to be... We've got a looming pandemic of superbugs coming, right?
Yeah, well, can I guess how we help prevent these things?
Sure, I haven't really got an answer, but go for it.
Okay, well, this is what I think one way of preventing it would be is our behaviour. So if we can't attack it, say, on a molecular level, then we can obviously change the way humans behave and our behaviours in dealing with one another to help prevent the spread of it.
Yep.
So isolation of people like who are sick, and obviously, yes, you do have that issue, but like face masks, things like that.
And quarantine.
And clean, quarantine, and also, clean environments and things like that. Even diets and things would go a long way in helping to prevent certain issues of having something in your system, or even just a further understanding, I guess you'd say, of our behaviours as individuals can help prevent diseases as well.
Yep.
It's the same reason why healthy people who eat right and exercise are less likely to, get other forms of diseases.
Yeah, they take care of themselves better. So,
take care of themselves better, wash and all that type of stuff, and brush their teeth and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right. We do a really good job of isolating these superbugs when they do pop up, and that stops them from spreading. We've been a bit lucky. Some people actually argue that we are in a pandemic of superbugs at the moment, but we're just better at controlling it. The reason they say that we're in a pandemic as well, and the WHO recognises this too, is we're actually really shit at keeping tabs on superbugs, so we don't know who's got them and where. Now, a lot of people stress out that superbugs are a big problem, but like you said, like the odds of actually getting exposed to a superbug, especially in like developed nations, somewhere like Australia and US, etc., is very, very small. Then the chance of that superbug developing into an illness is again also very, very small. And if you're reasonably healthy, the chance of that superbug actually killing you, so your immune system not being able to fight it off, is again very, very small. So while superbugs are around and we know that they're a problem, if you're reasonably healthy in a well-developed nation, you're probably going to be okay.
Okay.
Now, looking at this, superbugs kill around 23,000 people in the US every year.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it is. It's quite a bit. But when you think about it, they've got 320 million people in the US now.
Well, I thought they were like 250.
No, about 320. I saw a thing last night. 320
million.
Yeah, American
Far
citizens. It's
out.
crazy, right? About 2 million people get superbugs every year, so only 23,000 of them actually die. Okay, but they do say, and this is according to a Harvard professor, that it costs close to $20 billion to treat them.
Yeah. So for the listeners who, I'm sure you have heard the terminology superbug before, but superbugs are things that don't respond to our current forms of, say, like antibiotics. One of the ways in which they're increasing, have you gone into this, or would you like me to go into this?
Oh, if you want. I reckon that might be a good episode in the future, but go on, let's give them a taster.
Let's go through it. No, we're not going to rip off the audience. All right. So one of the ways is that natural selection, okay? So evolution, that thing that creationists hate. Oh, they believe it on a microscopic level, just macroscopic evolution. I don't believe in. It's just fucking incredible.
Because you can't really deny it when you can actually watch it happen.
Yeah, exactly. But say if you continually, use like Dettol, which we've got over here, or kind of that antiseptic cream and to wash your hands. The anti-germ cream that you use, alcohol wipes and stuff.
The antibiotics and all that stuff.
If you continually use that on your hands, all right, then you're exposing the germs on your hands. I'm going to use germs. Forget bacteria. I'm just going to use germs. Exposing the germs on your hands to an environment which is very harsh. Now, most of them will die. Okay, you look at a lot of things they promote. Oh, it kills 99.9% of germs.
That's so. But what about that 0.1%?
Yeah,
It's now pissed off. You've just wiped out his family. He's coming for revenge.
Well, the thing is, 99% of germs, 0.9% of germs aren't going to kill you. There's only about less than 1% of germs that are actually going to cause you problems. Now, if you keep putting that stuff on your hands, like the Dettol kind of antiseptic wipe and stuff like that, you're actually creating an environment in which current antibiotic, like say resistant or alcohol wipes aren't going to kill that specific germ, because the ones that survive will continue to breed, and then their offspring have that ability to avoid that interaction with the chemicals you're putting on your hands. So therefore, you now have on your hands, if you're unlucky, you now have on your hands over a long period of time germs that you cannot stop with current methods of hand washing, which is bad. Because if that spreads and you try and counteract that with, say, some sort of treatment, then it's not going to work. And the same goes with antibiotics. If you continually take antibiotics when you're not meant to, and I'm sick, I'll take antibiotics, then all of a sudden you develop in your body antibiotic-resistant biotics.
You're just giving bacteria a chance
Or
be
likewise,
resistant.
If you don't finish your cycle of antibiotics, then you've still got you're just giving, the same reason we give vaccines, just small little samples of something, then you're giving the bacteria or whatever it is, the biotics in your system, you're giving them a chance to get used to that environment by not wiping them out completely.
Actually, there was a paper, I think, last year or the year before, from the British Medical Journal, which suggested that finishing antibiotics might lead to greater antibiotic resistance than not finishing it when you're...
Wow, I had no idea about that.
If you're already healed, then your body should be able to take it. But if you continue to take antibiotics, you're continuing to create that environment.
That's a new line of thinking then. That's worth checking out.
Yeah, no, I reckon we should. I reckon we'll lock that in. Lock that away for another episode.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, long story short, the bacteria or whatever it is you're trying to fight, then what happens is they will actually then develop what you've got in your stomach or wherever the infection is. You have got an environment where no treatment is going to kill it. Hence, you have a superbug, because these bugs have evolved, they're bred. You've now got a colony of antibiotic-resistant biotics.
Yeah, and then you got problems.
Then you got fucking issues.
So there might be a problem with this superbugs as the next pandemic, though, but we have to wait and see. I hope that's one of the things that I don't really want to see happen. Yeah. There's a lot of things like we're overdue for. Yeah,
the poles flipping would be cute and interesting. This is just fucked.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Yeah, if this happens, I'm out. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't want to be there. Another thing I kind of don't want to see happen, I say kind of because I think it'd be amazing, is a Californian quake. So we're well overdue for a big earthquake. There's plenty of earthquakes in California, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's one that we're really overdue for, and that's the big one. So these are like magnitude 7+.
Whoa, that's huge. And so those people who don't know what Richter scale is, it's like an exponential increase. So it's like if you have, say like a 3 and a 4, that 3 is like, so if it goes up by 1 on the Richter scale, it's like, it's
10 times
10 times as big as the previous one. So if something's 10, say a 3, for instance, we give it a 10, then a 4 is 100. It's not linear.
Is 1,000.
Exactly. A 5 is
6
1,000.
is 10,000.
Blah, blah, blah. So when they talk about like a 7 on the Richter scale, that's fucking massive.
Yeah, that's big. Now, the thing is with California, there's about 40 million people live in California. Now, most of them are concentrated around San Francisco and LA, and which is right on where these plate boundaries sit. Okay, now there was a huge earthquake, 7.7, I think, back in 1906 in San Francisco, and it fucked some shit up, hey?
Yeah, didn't they have to build on top of it or something like that?
Yeah. So back then there was about 400,000 people in the Central Bay Area, right in there, and 3,000 people died, and there was fires, and it was massive catastrophe. Nowadays there's about 1 million people in that same area. Yeah. So you can see that'll be going on. In the wider Bay Area there's about 7 million people living there. So if this big earthquake came, you can see it would cause a lot of havoc, not to mention all the infrastructure and stuff that's built there too. Now, I read a paper from 1981, and it suggests that we expect to see about 4 7+ Richter scale earthquakes per century. The last time we saw one was that 1906 one.
Wow. Okay.
So we're quite overdue for a big earthquake. In fact, there was the USGS, the US Geological Survey, suggested that there is a 93% chance of a 7+ magnitude earthquake by 2045.
Holy shit.
So yeah, there's a lot of prep going into looking out for the next one. In fact, even when I was in San Fran, they'd have like sirens and practice quake things and what you do, and you have to park your car a certain way in case a quake happens and things like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like you have to turn your wheels, so if a quake happens, your car doesn't roll down the hill, it smacks into the curb instead.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I think one thing that we need to highlight as well is that our infrastructure is much better and much more capable of withstanding an earthquake. Now, I'm not saying it's 7, but saying that, like, it's unfair to say, well, there's 300,000 people and this many thousand people died. Therefore, if it's 1 million people, then this many people die, because there's so many different variables involved.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of these things with that we're overdue for, is there's huge error margins on them. Okay, so while we might be overdue on average, that average has a massive range. So we're probably not overdue. We're still within that standard deviation, if you will.
Yeah.
Hey.
I think it's just the documentary channels and stuff sell it to get people captivated.
Oh, it is. It just makes it interesting. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. Now, one thing I would really actually genuinely love to see is a supernova, you know?
Well, depending on how close it is. If the nearest supernova...
See it for a while, not be exposed to it for 3 seconds.
I was about to say, because it would literally just wipe away our... Like, if our nearest star is Sagittarius...
Our nearest star is called the sun, mate.
No. One of those wankers. Are you aware that the sun is a star?
It's Proxima Centauri, I think.
Centauri, yes, Proxima Centauri. Proxima or Alpha Centauri?
I think it's Proxima because it's proximal to us. It's near us.
Okay.
And Alpha's the bright one, the brightest one.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting confused. But if that went supernova, like if it was capable of going supernova, went supernova, that would shed our atmosphere.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No more life.
Which, for a few seconds, would be absolutely incredible to watch.
Yeah. Wow. It's so.
Yeah.
I can't breathe. Now, there was a NASA study and suggests the birth of new stars in the Milky Way is about 7 stars per year they identify that pop up in our Milky Way.
Oh, wow.
And about once every 50 years, they reckon a star goes supernova. And this is a 2006 Nature article, and they said this. So they happen reasonably frequently. Okay, but the problem is we can't actually see them because, like you said before, the Milky Way is a spiral galaxy, so it's a disk. It's relatively flat, so you can only see them really on one plane. And there's a shitload of dust in there as well, so that obscures a lot of our views of these supernova that are going up. So it's kind of neat to see how often they happen, but you can't really see them unless, firstly, you know where to look. Secondly, you've got a good enough telescope to be able to see through the dust, so you might need a radio telescope or something like that. And then thirdly, you get the right timing as well, because a supernova might go up and then fade, so you even miss it anyway.
Yeah, that's like what a lot of scientists are doing at the moment. Like, I know there was much excitement last year when they spotted a supernova going, and they've actually spotted things like turning into black holes and stuff like that, or black holes swallowing stars, I should say.
It's cool, but to actually see a supernova naked eye, that's what I really want.
Well, there's Betelgeuse.
There is?
Or Betelgeuse, however we want to pronounce it. So I don't even know why they call it Betelgeuse. I don't see how they got that word out of the spelling. But that's actually, if you have a look at Orion, the Orion formation, and you have a look, there's the belt, right? There's the 3 stars.
Yep.
In Australia, if you look down to your right, bottom right, but in the northern hemisphere, I think it would be top left. You'll see a golden kind of star in the sky. It looks like our sun, yeah. It's much bigger than our sun. If they're predicting that will go supernova. Well,
it's much bigger in real. It looks a lot smaller than our sun from our perspective.
Yeah, I think it's about 400. Oh, man, I know I'm giving you one hell of an error margin. It's about 400 to 600 light years away, and when that goes supernova, or if it already has, the light obviously takes time to travel to get here, so it could have gone off hundreds of years ago. We wouldn't know. But by the time the light gets here, they reckon that if that goes supernova, that'll be visible. And they reckon for a few days, it'll be just as bright as almost like a full moon.
Oh, that's awesome. See, that would be rad. I'd like to see it. And that's supposed to go supernova, is it?
Within a million years. So anytime in the next million years.
Oh, that's pretty soon in, cosmic time.
Cosmic time is actually it's quite soon. But it's just kind of exciting.
Probably not going to be here in a million years' time. Go Betelgeuse.
But
Betelgeuse.
But we're kind of in a lucky part. Although you're kind of saying, that would be great if we got to see a supernova. In actual fact, one of the reasons why we're so lucky to be in this part of the galaxy is because there's no real threats. Because you remember, when the star goes fucking supernova, it releases a fucking shit ton of energy.
Yeah.
And if you're pointing at one of the poles, okay, of certain stars that go supernova, you are fucked. Like,
Yeah.
you literally are fucked. Like, not literally.
It's like a super laser.
I don't mean
Just burns
literally.
you.
I don't mean literally fucked. I mean literally.
Depends if you're bending over when it went or not.
But you're bombarded with these cosmic rays, and it'll kill anything and just destroy anything. And
Just strip
They
electrons
are
off protons, off atoms.
They are like the strongest, most cataclysmic events to happen in the cosmos.
I'd love to see it.
You don't
love
want
to
to be
see
too
it.
close to it, though.
But like this, I found a paper from, when is it? 1981, and it estimated that the
Oh,
rate
nice. Using
only
the
one I could
recent
really
studies.
find. Recent study. No, well, it's pretty good actually, because I had a look and it looked at all the mass, and similar to the NASA one, the Nature article I said before from NASA. So it uses similar studies. And the reason I found this paper is because it was referenced by the 2006 paper
cool.
too. So they estimated that supernova happens every 15 to 30 years, so a little bit lower than the new one. But what they said is that we can see one from Earth about every 250 to 300 years. That's how often, going back through the historical records, that someone's recorded a supernova occurring.
Oh, wow.
Okay, somewhere around the world. And like they usually make sure the records are fairly consistent, so there's more than one culture recording this observation. The last one was 1604. So that's
that's a while
about
ago.
a bit more than 400 years ago. So on average, 250 to 300, about 100 years overdue.
Crab Nebula? Was that
I think it was, yeah. I think it was.
Yeah, because I know there was a bit of stuff about whether or not, because I know there's a big cave painting and stuff like that where they're saying, oh, this is the crab. I think they've discredited that.
Yeah, it was just a crab in a shitty drawer.
It's turned into the Crab Nebula.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool because you look at the first photos of it, you know, when they first started taking imagery of it, and then you have a look now and you can see it just spread out. It's so cool. And it's just going to show just how huge these events are, because like you look at it and then all of a sudden you see it's much larger, but like that's hundreds of years of these particles traveling.
Yeah.
You know? It's fucking incredible. It's so awesome. It's just, I cannot wrap my head around. I don't think anyone can wrap their head around just the enormity of the cosmos.
Oh, it is. It's impossible. We haven't evolved to deal with numbers that large. You know?
It's just incredible.
It is. And I would love to see that. I think that of that list, that would be the thing I'd want to see most, safely see most, is that supernova. Imagine seeing something go supernova, just this huge in the sky.
Yeah, that's probably the safest of the lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be more worried about us fucking things up on Earth before we do anything else.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get our own shit together. Like, oh, we've got to watch out for asteroids. Like, no, we have to more watch out for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe you should watch out for emissions more than asteroids.
but that goes against my political opinion. It can't be true.
It can't be true.
Yeah. I'll see in this lifetime that I'm not proven wrong or don't accept I'm wrong.
I found an article about tempered glass, and that shows that climate change isn't real.
Mate, you got to get over that guy online,
my
mate.
God.
But I find it funny how people, like, to them, being proved wrong and then, like, kind of admitting you're wrong are two, like, different things, but they think they're the same.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if you're proved, like, being proved wrong is different to admitting you're wrong. But some people out there think that being proved wrong, like admitting they're wrong is being proved, that they're the same thing. So it's like, if I don't admit that I'm wrong, then I'm not wrong.
No.
And it's just not how it works.
There's nothing wrong with admitting wrong. In fact, that's really a cornerstone of how
It's
science
progress
should work.
is made. It's how progress is made. Admit, don't be afraid to admit you're wrong and load new evidence, because that's how progress is made. You as a person and us as a civilization. And even what I've found is really useful, even in like terms of, I don't know, I guess I'm getting a bit emotional here, but
Okay, let me just set up this soapbox for you, mate. Yeah.
can you cue music? You're gonna cue music now. But even like in a relationship sense, like having the ability to go, you know what, I'm comfortable being wrong. Like, and I think that's one thing we do a lot. Like, people say, hey, I found this and that. And I think, you know, being able to admit you're wrong, even in a relationship sense, is so important. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm wrong. I got it wrong. Here's the evidence that says I'm right.
It's liberating, honestly, I think.
Yeah. And
like, we've had people write in and explain to us where we've been wrong a couple of times, and I actually really do appreciate it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, or people think that, you know, the thing is that people say, oh, you guys said this, it's wrong, and we've looked at it and we've actually been right. We've written back on actually, no, it's this. But, you know, there's people who've written in and said, hey, you're wrong about that. And we look at it and we're like, fuck, you're right. Okay, my apologies. Our bad. And then we put a little disclaimer in there. So which is cool. Which is awesome. And we really appreciate everyone's feedback who gets back to us and, you know, leaving reviews and just even the nice mail that we get. We really appreciate it. Even some hate mail. We recently got some guy message us.
That was amazing. Oh, my God.
You know, a conversation's gone the shitter when I write, You are an absolute wanker.
That was the last thing Wade said to him. You are an absolute wanker.
Yeah, it was... Oh, man.
But you were right. Like, you weren't wrong there. He was an absolute wanker.
He was an absolute wanker, wasn't he? He was talking about guns and not like we're...
I have no fucking idea what he said.
Actually, you know, we don't even know what this guy was talking about.
That was what I wrote back, and then he thought I was insulting him. I wrote back and said, I have no idea what you were talking about. And he said, how dare you criticize me?
No, it wasn't that. It was we couldn't pay you enough. We couldn't be paid enough to have you on our show.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
you attacked him. You attacked him first.
I did say, I don't know what you're talking about, and then he had a go at me, and then I said, we couldn't be paid enough.
And then
I said something first.
Yeah, and then he said that our ancestors were, because we're Australian, were like thieves and we were racist.
I'll have you know, I'm half Italian. My ancestors were fascists, okay?
Get your facts right. Oh, well, you know, my ancestors are English and there's nothing that they've done wrong. What people forget is that, being an Englishman, we've done a lot wrong, but not in the recent history. That's the thing. Well, depending on who you speak to,
that's right.
Would disagree with that one.
On that political
standpoint, we're going to leave you now. But thank you all to all listeners who listen to us each week and support us and like the page and send us messages and
let us know when we're wrong.
Yeah, let us know when we're wrong. That's the thing. And we thank you so much. We still find it incredible that we get listened to by people, which is just strange. Thank you so much. If you want to become a Patreon of the page and the show, please patreon.com/Sci-gasm podcast. That always goes a long way in helping us out. And you can join the Sci-holes, which is just a group where people get together and they talk about interesting things or funny things about the episodes and stuff like that and make fun of Bern and I. So if you want to put shit on us, become a member of the Sci-holes. Thanks again, guys.
Bye.